have a little plate of mochi. I got a chocolate one, a coffee one, and a strawberry one. And I'm very excited. Someone has joined us. Someone really wants, ma'am, excuse me, do not eat my mochi. Are you just gonna sit there? Yeah, just right in front of the camera. Hey friends, it is Jenna, what is up, and welcome back to the Board Game Garden, and welcome to the first episode of the second half of the cream of the crop, or my top 100 games of all time. This is going to be numbers 50 through 41, so this is starting the top 50, which is really exciting. This whole thing has been very exciting, but we are getting up to the top very quickly. This is actually like gone a lot quicker than I anticipated, so I actually can't believe that we're already in the top half of the list. But yes, you guys saw Penny has joined me on my lap here, so you guys might see a little head pop up here and there. But yeah, I'm really excited to get into numbers 50 through 41. So if you guys are interested in seeing all of those, then just keep on watching. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy. Also hit that subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. Also comment down below any of these games, what you think about them after I tell you what they are. And then also if you've been posting your top 100 games, I'd love to know your 50 through 41. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this chunk of my top 100 games of all time, shall we? All right, so starting off with the first game, this is my number 50, and this is a flip and write polyomino style game. It is a flip and write version of another game that I absolutely love and may or may not be higher on this list, but the game that I am talking about is the Isle of Cats Explore and Draw. So this, like I said, is the flip and write version of the Isle of Cats, which I absolutely love. And this one is, I've always said, is a lot easier to get to the table than the full-on version of the Isle of Cats. So this ends up usually being the version of the Isle of Cats that I typically get to the table solo. It is a lot easier to get to the table. It's just this small box. I actually took out most of the markers in here and just left in one set of the markers. But basically, if you guys have never heard of the Isle of Cats, it's basically a polyomino game. In the full game, you're playing with polyomino shaped tiles that you're going to be drafting. There's also a little bit of closed drafting with cards in that game as well. But in this one, instead of actually drafting those tiles, you're going to have this grid of cards in the center that are going to be the polyomino shapes of the cats. There's also going to be lessons, which are kind of either private lessons or public lessons that are going to be some public and private objectives. You're also going to have some treasure as well. And basically in this game, you are just choosing one of the columns in order to put that into your boat. So in the main game, you're putting these cats onto a big boat board with those tiles, but in this one you have a smaller boat board and you are drawing the different polyomino shapes into the boat. And you're going to be doing that, like I said, by choosing one of the columns. And it is just so much easier to get to the table. It's a lot easier just with setup and getting through the game. I feel like it's just a quick, snappy version of the Isle of Cats, which I love. And the solo mode in both of them is absolutely fantastic. You're basically competing against your sister, so you're trying to get a better score than your sister, and she is scoring for the different colors of cats as well as some of the lessons as well. So that is why the Isle of Cats Explore and Draw is my number 50. All right, so moving on to my number 49. So this is a pretty recent game, but it is a game that came out that was pretty similar to another game from the same publisher, but it has quite a different gameplay to it. It's pretty similar, but it has some pretty big differences to it, and it is a different theme to the other game. The other game was bird themed, so I'm sure you guys know what this game is, but this actually took the spot of the bird themed one for me, and that game is Wormspan. So Wormspan is my number 49. I really enjoy Wingspan as well, don't get me wrong. Wingspan is unfortunately not in my top 100 because I kind of enjoy Wormspan better and I really enjoy the gameplay of Wormspan. I still do really enjoy Wingspan. I was never really a huge fan of the bird theme to it. And also with Wingspan, I've said this before, but there was a little bit too much luck when it came to the dice rolling. So that's like the primary reason that Wormspan has overtaken Wingspan for me. I still, like I said, enjoy Wingspan, but ever since playing Wormspan, I have just wanted to play this one instead of Wingspan for the most part. But this one is dragon themed, which I absolutely love. I love the art in this. I love the like watercolor kind of aesthetic to it. And the colors in this are absolutely beautiful with like the pastel blues and pinks and purples. So yes, this one has a little bit of a difference when it comes to gaining the resources. Your primary way to get resources is you are going to be rolling dice into the bird feeder dice tower. And that to me got a little bit frustrating sometimes when I was trying to get specific resources, but they just weren't getting rolled. But in Wormspan, you definitely have a lot more control over how you're getting resources because instead of rolling dice to gain your resources, you're going to be taking your little explorer meeple and going exploring down one of your 3 rows. And that's going to be how you are getting your resources. And then also by placing down cave cards as well. So you have a lot more control over that. So it's not as frustrating. And then everything else on top of that, I just really enjoy. There is additional like action tokens that you can get in different ways. There's the different guilds, which is a very fun little rondelle type thing where you get rewards. And then also you can gain some endgame scoring from that as well. Just like in Wingspan, there are different objectives that you're going for each of the 4 rounds, which I really enjoy. So overall, I just think Wormspan for me is the one that I enjoy better. And that is why it is my number 49. All right, moving into my 48. This is a game that I actually just recently got a physical copy of. I've always just played this game like my friend's copy of this game. I've played it so many times on BGA. This is probably one of my most played games on BGA, and I am absolutely obsessed with this game, but I'm so happy to actually have a physical copy of this game now because it does have a really tactical element to it, or tactile element to it, which is super fun. But the game that I'm talking about in my number 48 is Potion Explosion. So yes, I love this game. It is a marble game where basically you are trying to have different like magical reactions with the marbles. You are going to, on your turn, you have different potions that you're needing specific colored marbles in order to complete. And then once you complete those potions, those will actually get you additional actions, which is really cool. And they also get you victory points as well. But on your turn, you are going to be taking 1 marble out of one of the different columns of this little like contraption, this potion marble contraption. And basically the marble that you take out, any marbles that then roll down and connect to each other, so whatever ones are on the other side of the marble that you took, if those are the same color, then that kind of causes a chain reaction. You get those marbles, and then if the next ones come together and they're the same colors, you get those. So you're really trying to create these different reactions and trying to get as many marbles on your turn as possible. And I, like I said, have played this so many times on BGA, and I feel like I'm getting pretty good at it for the most part. I've played a few times on BGA with some different expansions and stuff that I haven't fully like grasped or actually learned the rules for. So there's a few expansions that I just don't typically play with, but I have before and I've done awful with them. But the base game of Potion Explosion I've gotten pretty good at because I've played it so many times. And like I said, I'm so excited to have a physical copy now. A huge thank you to Horrible Guild as well as Flat River Group for sending this over. But yeah, plays 2 to 4 players. Super excited to play this with friends and family. I feel like this will be a good one to bring to the table with them. So yeah, that is why Potion Explosion is my number 48. Moving into number 47. This is interesting because this is another game that has some like tableau building and some engine building of cards in different rows. This one is one that I was just recently introduced to within the last year, and I have fallen in love with this game. I love this game so much, and it is just a very fun tableau building game. I really enjoy tableau building, but the game that I'm talking about is Raising Robots. So this one, like I said, is a pretty new one to me. I think I purchased this a little bit earlier this year, probably in like January or February of this year. But this is a game all about creating a tableau of these robots that you are raising. And this is a simultaneous game, which I think is amazing. And it's such a fun one to get to the table because it doesn't overstay its welcome, which I really appreciate. And the art is adorable. All of the robots are different, and they are just like some of the funniest robots I've ever seen. And each of the robots is going to have a kind of special ability that is going to trigger whenever you trigger one of the rows. So like I mentioned, this is a simultaneous game, so you are going to be basically picking different actions. There's going to be the specific actions that you're going to go around, and everyone's going to be triggering these different actions. 3 of those actions being the different rows with the robots. So the more robots that you have in these different rows, whenever you activate that specific action, you will then be able to go down and activate all of the robots in that kind of row. So there's a lot more to it than that, but I definitely recommend if you enjoy games such as Wingspan, Wormspan, Earth, as well. A lot of those like big tableau building kind of action selection kind of games. I definitely recommend checking out Raising Robots. It is such an adorable game. I love it so much. Cannot wait to play it even more. Francis actually really enjoys this one as well, so I was happy to play that one with him too. We've played it a few times with him, but yes, Raising Robots is wonderful. Definitely recommend it if you have yet to try it out, and that is why it is my number 47. So number 46 is a solo-only game from one of my favorite publishers, and this was actually, I believe, my favorite solo game of 2023. I have fallen in love with this game. I need to get this game to the table again. Maybe I will actually play this game solo tonight because it's been too long since I've played this. It is a little bit of a campaign game in a way, or like it's not a legacy game because you're not changing things, but you are going through a story, and that game is Legacy of You. So this is my number 46. Like I've said, this is such a fantastic like resource management game. It just gives you a lot of those very common Garfield games kind of mechanisms in it, and it is just so satisfying to me. But basically it is very much so a like resource conversion, resource management puzzle where you are trying to build these canals and move your boat along before you get hit by a flood. So that is like one of the end game things. Basically in this game, you are trying to win 7 games before you lose 7 games. And it is fairly difficult to win, I will say. I've had quite a few times where I've lost already. But basically you're doing a lot of resource management with cards and moving buildings and building buildings, stuff like that. You're also going to be recruiting people from this top row as well as defeating these barbarians. There are 3 different ways that you can possibly lose the game. One being that you run out of cards to play, another being that you get hit with the flood, or if you get overrun by barbarians. So there are quite a few ways to lose different scenarios. But it does kind of, as you progress through the campaign, it kind of self-balances and helps you out. If you do lose, then it gives you a little bit of a like special thing, kind of help you in that next scenario, try to beat that one. So I've really enjoyed this one. Like I said, it's been a bit since I've played it, so I definitely need to get this one to the table again. But that is why Legacy of You is my number 46. Moving on to number 45. This was a game that I actually just like pretty recently within the last few months got introduced to. I actually played this for the first time at Adam when I went to that, I believe in I think it was like end of March, but this is a game by Inside Up Games, and it is a draft and write game, and that game is Draft and Write Records. So like I said, this is published by Inside Up Games. They are the publisher of Earth, like I've mentioned already in this video. But this is a draft and write game where basically you are building up a band and you're going to be touring with that band, and just a lot of like very awesome combo-y goodness. I am a huge fan of flip and writes, roll and writes, draft and writes, specifically draft and writes, because I really enjoy the mechanism of closed drafting. Seven Wonders is like one of those games that I have like loved for so long, and I love the act of getting a hand of cards, picking, and then passing them on to another player. So that is what you are doing in this game, and with the cards that you're drafting, you're going to be filling different things out on your page. You're going to have different assets, you're going to be creating harmonies within your band, you're going to be collecting different band members, and you're also going to be like going on tour, and there's going to be some public objectives, which I absolutely love public objectives. That's another thing that I love in a game. So this one, the moment that I played it the first time at Adam, I fell in love with it, absolutely loved it, and I honestly, like, this does not surprise me that it's this high up because I enjoyed it so much, and I have played it so many times since then. So that is why Draft and Write Records is my number 45. All right, so number 45 is an interesting one because I do not have a copy of this game, but I have played this game probably like 4 or 5 times now, and honestly I don't know why I haven't purchased a copy of this. I do think that it's very similar to when I was talking about Abyss in the last video. There is no solo mode for this game either, and I think that's like the only thing that's holding me back from purchasing it, because I just have so many games, and sometimes I love a game so much but I just don't feel the need to add it to my collection because I have so many other games that I need to get played, but this is one that a lot of my friends have, so I am able to play it quite a bit. But the game that I'm talking about is Rajas of the Ganges, which is actually a pretty like classic game. I feel like this one has been around for quite a while, and I love this game. It has some like tile laying, it has dice worker placement, which is one of my favorite mechanisms in a game, and basically what you're doing is you are trying to there's 2 different tracks around the outside. One is money, I believe, and one of them is fame. Correct me if I'm wrong, but basically whoever is able to cross those 2 paths first is going to trigger the end of the game, and then once everyone has had the same amount of turns, whoever has crossed the most is going to be the winner. And you're going to be doing this in a bunch of different ways. You're going to be purchasing tiles that you're going to be placing out onto your map, and you're going to be able to sell different goods for money. You're going to be able to go like up this river in order to get resources. You're going to, there's like a bunch of different people that you can activate their abilities. Basically, you're just trying to do a bunch of actions on this board by doing these worker placement things and using these different dice in order to gain the fame and the money and be the first person to cross those 2, or at least cross the most at the end of the game. So Rajas of the Ganges is absolutely amazing. Like I said, I've played it a bunch, and it's been one that I have definitely considered adding to the collection. Now that I know that it is my number 44, I should probably just get it because it is such a fantastic game. I've also played the like dice game. There is like a roll and write version of this, and it actually is the one that I played before the full-on board game of Rajas of the Ganges, and you can really tell the similarities between the 2. And if you're looking for like a smaller version of Rajas of the Ganges, the dice game, I think it's like the Dice Charmer game, is really, really good as well. So yeah, that is my number 44, Rajas of the Ganges. Moving into number 43, I'm looking at these 3 games, and it's quite interesting because these 3 games, all of them, have really brought like more of a gaming experience to me than like a board game experience, if that makes sense. All 3 of these are just so rich with story, and it's just they've created experiences for me rather than just board games. So I'm really excited to talk about these three. But my number 43 is a game that was actually very high up on my list the last time that I did this. I actually think this might have been number 2, which it makes me a little bit sad that it's dropped this far. But the reason why it was so high was because I was playing it with Francis and we were having this really nice campaign of it, and we finally finished it, and so it has dropped since then. But I do think that you can just play this one if you want, like it doesn't have to be a campaign. But the game that I'm talking about is Near and Far. So this is my number 43. Francis and I, like I said, were playing this as a campaign. So you go through, I believe, 10 different scenarios in this story, and it is a competitive campaign game, so we were playing these different maps against each other. Most of the time Francis did beat me. I'm pretty sure he beat me almost every time. But you are doing some worker placement and then you're doing some exploration on this map, and I absolutely love that kind of decision of either staying in town and doing some worker placement or going out and exploring on this map and getting different resources and going on different quests. Very much so like Above and Below, like I mentioned in the last video. It has a lot of story elements to it, so when you do go exploring, you're going to be reading these different passages from the book, and it's just so immersive. And again, I love the world of Arzium that Ryan Lockett has created, and this game just brought a lot of fun memories for Francis and I, so it still holds a really close place in my heart, and I love it, and I really enjoy the gameplay of it. So if you guys are looking for a really awesome game to play with a friend or a partner, a spouse, anybody like that, I definitely recommend Near and Far. It is wonderful, and that is why it is my number 43. Moving on to number 42. Again, very similar to Near and Far. This one has a spot in my heart just because it took me on this like adventure with this character and I freaking loved it. It's actually a fairly simple game. It is a solo only game and I loved the story behind this one, and that is why it's my number 42. But that game is Isla and Something Shiny. So this is a story-driven campaign game that is solo only, and it has a very interesting gameplay to it because it's more so of like a choose your own adventure type of game, but then it implements a little bit of like Euro mechanisms in it with some resource management, different things like that. It has some like puzzles and stuff, but the story of this one is just, oh my goodness, it just brings you in, grasps you, you fall in love with these characters, and I'm gonna tell you guys now, this game like made me cry, which is just not something that happens often in board games, and I think this one is really special. I'm sad that I have finished it. No, maybe I didn't finish it. I think I might have like one more chapter left. I don't think I can't think of like what the resolution was of the game, so I think I might actually have like one more chapter left, but this game has been absolutely amazing, and that is why it is my number 42. Like I said, you are going on this adventure with Isla, and you're meeting some people, and it is a little bit emotional, and there's these different cards that you're going to be bringing out, and you're going to be choosing on the card something to do on that card, and then it's either going to be pushed to the future or it's going to be pushed to the past. And if it's pushed to the future, you will then reshuffle it into the deck to then see again in the future. You're going to be using different resources in order to do different things. And like I said, there's some like puzzles and stuff, and different things change throughout the game. But I love this game so much. Like I said, it was quite the experience, and I definitely recommend if you're looking for a solo only kind of story adventure to go on, definitely recommend Isla and Something Shiny. That is why it is my number 42. And moving on to the last game that I'm going to talk about in this list. This is my number 41, and this game has a very special place in my heart, not only because it's a fantastic game, but because I am currently working on designing a character for this game. And I will say that right now, I do have like a lot in this game because I am creating a character for it and I'm designing a character for it, so take that for what it's worth. Even before I knew that I was going to be doing that, creating a character for this game, I loved this game so much and I played a few years of it. And anyways, the game that I'm talking about in my number 41 is Mythwind. So Mythwind is not a solo only game. You can play this one 1 to 4 players, but I have primarily played this one solo, and I think it is a fantastic solo game because it feels like a village building video game. If you guys have played Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing or any of those games where you are just working day to day to build up this village or build up something and you're following along on this like rich story, that is exactly what Mythwind delivers, and I love it so much, and it is so good, and I've played it a ton. I've played it quite a bit because, like I said, I am creating and designing a character. I don't think I really explained exactly what you're doing in the game, but like I said, you are building up this village and you're going on this adventure, going through this story, and each of the characters is going to be playing in a completely different way. So you have the farmer that is like a polyomino puzzle, you have the crafter, which is doing a little bit of like upgrading mechanism, which is a lot of fun. That's the one that I've played a lot. There's also the ranger, which is going out on expeditions, and then there's also the merchant, which is a little bit of like a stock kind of game, which I haven't played yet. That one seems fun. There's also an expansion for one called the innkeeper as well, which I've played, and that one is a lot of fun as well, which is a little bit of like bringing in different people into your inn, and each of the people that you're bringing into your inn are going to have different requests that they want to have met, and that one's a lot of fun. But just like the other two that I mentioned, this one brought a really cool experience to a board game and brought something different to the table, which is really nice sometimes. A lot of games tend to feel the same, and like I love Euro games and trying to get the most victory points as possible and all of those things, but it's really nice to have these games that kind of bring you into this new world and bring you on this adventure and are just really immersive. So that is why Mythwind is my number 41. All right, friends, so the end of that list got quite interesting because a lot of them were like very like cool experiences that I had in board games, so that was a lot of fun. But yes, this was a really good chunk of games. I am so excited for the few lists that we have left to go for this top 100. It's about to get real good, and all of these games I'm so excited to talk about. So hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing about these 10, which is my number 50 to 41. If you did enjoy, please give this video a big thumbs up. Also hit the subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden, and comment down below what your thoughts are on all of these games. Have you played any of these? Do you enjoy any of these? Let me know. And also, if you are following along and putting your top 100 down in the comments, I'd love to hear what your 50 through 41 are. But yeah, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for hanging out. Remember, you are somebody's reason to smile, and I will see you in the next board game video. Bye, friends.